Out of storage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zen Pilot Live Show. I was just saying to Jeff, the hard part is over. The wait is over. We are here coming to you live to tell you today about an easy way to run EOS in ClickUp. With me on the call today is Jeff Cypher, our productivity professor. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing way better after I heard your hello, everybody. For those that don't know and don't follow ZenPilot, Kuba basically has that trademark at this point. That's on he runs our newsletter at ZenPilot 2, First Class Operations. Every single one of those starts with his hello, everybody. And, it just makes you happier. So I'm sure a lot of you are tuning in just because you wanted to hear that. So if the drop off of this webinar goes just a huge percent, then I know that you're just tuning in for his greeting. So I'm the same way. So I can feel that.
They just wanted to hear the hello. Yes, well, hello, watchers and listeners. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Whether you're watching live or watching the recording, it's super nice of you to join us here today. Please let us know that you can see us and that you can hear us on the live stream here today, okay? Leave us a comment. Where are you tuning in from? What are you seeking here, travelers? And what you would like to get from this live stream. We'd love to know about that. So drop us some comments here in the chat on LinkedIn and YouTube, because we're coming to you live on both. I guess if you're watching the recording, don't do that, but you still can. Leave us a comment. We like that. We're marketers. We love engagement. Meanwhile, Jeff, I wanted to ask you, given the topic that we're going to run today, who do you hope is tuning in? Who will benefit the most from listening to this conversation?
Yeah, so I hope that basically anyone that's running on EOS right now and they're in ClickUp is tuning in. Just so everyone knows, we're not EOS implementers by any means. We're not an EOS coach. Don't really have any affiliation with EOS, but we are running on EOS internally, and it has been amazing for us. We've loved it, especially the level 10 meetings. It's been a great way for us just to have more productive meetings internally. Kuba and I have our marketing meeting every single week, and it's been super helpful. So anyone really, we're just EOS fans and we love it. We built sort of our framework in ClickUp, and it's helped us a lot. So really anyone that's on EOS right now and in ClickUp, I hope you're tuning in, as well as anyone that's just trying to figure out a way to maybe run more productive meetings, or they're trying to figure out if EOS would be good for them. I recommend you go to eosworldwide.com as well to learn all about EOS, what it's all about. And yeah, we're just going to kind of teach you how you can also build this inside of ClickUp as well.
Yeah, no surprise there. We love ClickUp. We love to build solutions in ClickUp, and for EOS, we found a way to make things run in a nice and integrated way with some automations in the mix as well. So stay tuned for that. Getting a little bit nervous. I need your comments to let me know that you can hear us and you can see us, okay? So drop some in the comments section. Meanwhile, Jeff, usually during ZenPilot live show streams, this is the time for me to ask my favorite question. My favorite question being, and the traditional question being, what is your number one tip for agency operators? But you already were a guest on the ZenPilot live show. Check us out on YouTube on the live section of the ZenPilot page, and you'll find that episode there. We were talking about, as I recall, agency project management issues or something related. So I've got a different question for you today, a little bit, for spooky season, because this is Spooktober. We were originally planning to run this on Halloween, but then I think you said you lost your costume or something.
Blame it all on me.
Yes, I shall. So instead, I'm going to ask you, just for flavor, Jeff, what is your favorite horror movie?
Yeah, this is a good spooky question. For anyone that's asking about my costume, I'm actually a ZenPilot employee today, so that's my Halloween costume. I didn't actually forget one. And I'm also, I'm the classic person that won't really dress up in a Halloween costume either. So if you've seen The Office, if you follow my content, I love The Office too. I'm typically one of those 3-hole punch gyms or something like that. That's super basic. Sorry, I don't get super into it at all. But anyways, your question. My favorite horror movie films, probably, I haven't watched it in a while, but Insidious. I really liked the first two Insidiouses. They really tied together super well. The third one was, I don't know, I feel like sometimes some film series, they try to just get a little extra cash, they should stop it where it should be stopped. But the first two Insidiouses, I think, were my favorite. How about you?
Yeah, you gotta be careful there. I mean, this is a sequel as well. We're having Jeff on the show for the second time, so let's see if it lives up to the first one. My favorite horror movie, and I've got a story associated with it, is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. First of all, it's really well made. It's got a certain kind of flavor of spook that I really like, and I have a nice memory associated with it because it's the movie that I watched with some of my family the night before my wedding. The preparations were all done, and just to chill out and to take my mind off of it, we watched it all together. It was really nice. Okay, we got the first comments rolling in. We've got Steven, we can hear and see you. Awesome. Gianna with a thumbs up emoji. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, while we are on the subject of our lovely audience here today, then I wanted to get a little bit more information from you. This is coming live. We're here to do a live demo for you, but also answer your questions and kind of tailor what we're going to talk about to your needs. This is the whole reason behind doing a live show. So if you could let us know, like, who here is running on EOS, who here is just curious about EOS, for how long you've been running on it, and what is your favorite part about it. Tell us about your experience thus far. And of course, in terms of like tooling, or implementation, what are you currently using to track stuff like rocks, L10 meetings, issues, IDS, that kind of stuff? Let us know, and we'll try to, as much as possible, tailor what we're going to talk about here today to your specific situation. Hey, Aga is here. Nice to see you again. Dobry wieczór, Aga. Miło ciebie znowu tutaj gości. That was a little bit of Polish for you. Andy, I see your comment here. Excited to be joining. Yes, this is getting recorded for anybody who's curious. And the recording, both on LinkedIn and on YouTube, will be under the exact same link. So it's really easy, okay? But of course, the only way to know things for your specific situation, to get answers, is to stay with us live. Okay, Jeff, you already mentioned, I just wanted to re-emphasize, we are not an official EOS implementer. For an official EOS tool that's kind of tailored specifically for this context, you can look at 90.io, or you can search for EOS 1. I dropped a comment under the live stream with relevant links and like relevant information on this, so just check that out. And we've got the first comment with some context, so let's have a look at that real quick. I'm going to read it for context now, and we're just going to keep it in mind for when the live demo happens. So for example, Steven is saying, I want to run on EOS, but we are a small 8-person Salesforce implementation partner, so haven't adopted yet. Want to start at a minimum establishing rocks and a L10 cadence. And Steven's adding that they're using ClickUp for project management. I think that makes sense, implementing it module by module. Jeff, could you quickly comment on that? Like, do you think that makes sense to go gradually?
Yeah, Steven, just that's kind of how we rolled EOS out as well. We kind of implemented some of the tools like rocks, as well as the level 10 meetings, especially. So we've been running those in ClickUp for a while, but then finally last year, I believe it was, we finally did the full implementation with an awesome implementation specialist to kind of help us take us the full EOS route. So yeah, it's definitely great to adopt a few elements here and there, and then eventually kind of go through the whole implementation to really kind of hold yourself accountable and get the full system built out. But yeah, that's exactly what we did. So great that you're kind of here and watching this.
Awesome. And I'm getting some more comments here. I think it's mostly a similar kind of situation. Mila is saying, okay, so here they're on EOS since last year, running on ClickUp. Here there's a case of running on EOS for the last six-ish months. Also using ClickUp, exploring the best way to pull through the structure and management of EOS process inside of ClickUp. Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, so this live demo will be super relevant for you, Gianna, and a lot of the other people on the call. So I love to see that. Okay, well, it looks like we've got a very relevant group of people here. Let's start jumping right into the content. Then I'm going to hit you with the first kind of substantive question, so to speak. Jeff, before we do the screen share, because before we show all the ClickUp magic associated to this EOS setup, could you shed a little bit of light on like what are the benefits of running EOS inside of ClickUp in your view?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me is going to be just the ability to have your tasks and work that you're doing on a daily basis in the same spot as your vision and sort of where you're trying to get to. I think that I just remember back in the day when people actually went to the office. There's probably plenty of people out there in the audience that still do go to a physical office, but with a lot of remote teams nowadays, you don't have that classic like billboard that's hanging up in the office where you walk in every day and you kind of see that vision, you see that mission of what you're trying to achieve as a company. So this is a great way, like, let's put it all in the same system so that I, on a daily basis, I go into ClickUp, I can see sort of our vision right there of what we're trying to achieve, sort of what our goals are as a business. And it just gives me way more clarity. As we always say, clarity is kindness. So the more that I can get into one spot so that there's not your classic, like, oh, where do I find this in that and things like that, it just makes it so much easier for people to find for instance, your vision traction organizer, see their rocks, and it's just all sort of centralized in one spot. So for us, I think it's been great because, again, every single day, all of my work is in one spot. I don't have my rocks in this system and my tasks in this system and trying to connect those two. It's just in one place. So that kind of leads me into, like, it helps you complete more rocks, in my opinion. For us, like Kuba and I especially, we have our rocks all built out inside of a list that we'll kind of highlight and show in a second. But we have all those rocks there. We have our milestones. So all the work is connected. I just have one view where I see my milestones for my rocks and how I'm going to complete those. And it just makes it super easy and gives me a lot of clarity there. One of the huge benefits too in ClickUp, I love how you can run meetings. So again, we'll go over this in a second, but it's super powerful because in ClickUp Docs, there's a great way to store all of them. You can have meeting templates that essentially allow you to, if you're the one that's running the L10 meeting, you can duplicate that. You can save it as a template and easily deploy it and have your meeting agenda already built out. Again, it's going to be super easy for people to find that meeting agenda so they can follow along, as well as there's a super powerful feature in ClickUp. I've shared this a lot of times, so probably a lot of you know about it, but you can create tasks directly from those docs as well. So if I'm in ClickUp and I highlight some text in that document, I can go create a task. And then that's going to live in the list that I put it in ClickUp, but it's also going to be in that document as well for me to see, like, is this closed? Is this still open? So that way we can track sort of all those to-dos that come off of our meeting. So that's a big, powerful piece of it as well as just being able, again, one system, super, super clear for everyone. And then in addition, you have the opportunity to save some money on software costs as well. I know we can, if you try to build it in another tool or in a bunch of different tools, just if you're already using ClickUp as your project management platform, then you can kind of save money on trying to implement it in something else. So that's another benefit to it. But the big ones are just going to be that clarity, having everything in one system, as well as being able to run your meetings in ClickUp and create tasks directly from them.
Yeah. To me, to add on top of that, to me, the magic moment is when you use Command K or Control K. And like, I'm spoiled because I discovered EOS or like for the first time ads and pilot. And I can't imagine it any other way right now where it's like, I'm in ClickUp, I hit Command K VTO, Command K issues, Command K rocks. And it takes you in just a few keystrokes exactly where you want to be. That's amazing how integrated it is. It lives right next to my tasks. I can leave a comment on one of my rocks. It's in the exact same system. There's a lot of upside to it. And honestly, I think it's about time to get to the live demo. Let's not let's use as much time as we can to show the system. I just wanted to make one tactical note kind of along the way. We'll be taking the Q&A kind of continuously. Don't wait for a Q&A section at the end of it. Just drop your comments, and as appropriate, and I can't guarantee we'll get to all of you, but as appropriate, we'll be pulling up the comments, answering your questions, addressing your specific cases that you might have here. So just leave some in the chat. If you don't have a question at the moment for the chat, then leave your favorite horror movie. We want to make a whole compilation now, given that Jeff's and mine now. All right, Jeff, are we good to go to start sharing?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited. And guys, please continue to ask questions in the chat so that Kuba will ask them to me as I go on. I'm definitely a rambler, and I can go on this probably for about 2 hours, but I know we have 45 minutes, so I'll try to narrow it down there. So just, continue to ask questions so I can make this tailored towards the audience.
We don't have 45 minutes. Leave 5 minutes at the end for CTAs. Come on.
That's true.
Help me out here. But yes, leave lots of comments. Like I mentioned, we're marketers. We love engagement. And here's the live demo.
Cool.
Alrighty. Let us know if you can see this. If this is probably not too big, but if it's too small, let us know. We'll maybe try to do a little bit of zoom. Go full screen. That has helped me see things well. Go full screen if you can. And Jeff, what are we looking at here? Where are we going to start our walkthrough here?
Cool. Well, so it sounds like most of you are using ClickUp right now, at least who has commented in the chat. So you should have an overview of sort of the layout and how ClickUp looks when you actually open it up. I'm in 3.0. right now. So it might look a little bit different if you're in 2.0, but that's sort of the new UI that we have right here. But in terms of EOS and how we actually run it, I'm going to start off with the hierarchy, and then we're going to get into sort of the little itty bitty details as we go on. But the way that we lay this out is we're going to have a whole separate space for EOS. And this can live in your operation space if you want it. But we like to kind of have it separate here. That way it's out in its own place where I can see all of it in one place, but I can also sort of relate things to my delivery space or my operation space as well. But it's helpful to have a whole separate space for your EOS data in here. Inside of this space, essentially what I'm going to have is I'm going to have one folder for sort of my vision traction organizer in there. And then I'm also going to have folders for my L10 meetings. So with this, you're only seeing 2 folders in here, but the way that you can run it is maybe you only have one L10 meeting running right now, and that's with your leadership team. But as you grow, and the way that we do it at ZenPilot, we like to have L10 meetings for our growth team, for our operations team, for our delivery team, as well as our leadership. So I can take this folder and I can either save it as a template and have sort of everything underneath it here. You'll see these lists, and I have some documents which we'll jump into soon, but I can take this and I'm able to either duplicate it or I can save it as a template. That way I can go and create a whole separate sort of L10 section, L10 folder for each of my departments. So that's kind of an easy way to do it. That way you can store rocks for those specific departments, that we can store issues as well as their scorecard and their meeting to-dos as well, so that everyone sort of has their own separate folder to store all of that information. But we'll start off in the VTO space, or the VTO folder right here. And Kuba, make sure, because I'm sort of on this screen, make sure you hit me up with comments and questions as they come in, so I don't continue to just go on.
I do have one, actually, if I may. I have two. Well, first, quick question from Brian Dow. Will this be on YouTube? It kind of already is. We are live on YouTube as well. And YouTube live streams, they stay up usually. So just look us up at ZenPilot on YouTube if you're watching on LinkedIn. Second, I'm not able to pull up the question. For some reason, Mustafa's stuff is not showing up in StreamYard for me. But there's a question, just a real quick tactical thing. I saw Jeff embedded a whiteboard to the L10 dock, and just wondering how to do that. Could you quickly explain? And then we'll start from the top with the VTO.
Yeah, we can get into that. So the question is, how can we embed a whiteboard into a ClickUp doc? Yeah. So I mean, if I wanted to, this is more like ClickUp Docs 101 here, but essentially wherever you are, you can easily go embed, and then with this, I'm getting the list, board, or table. But if I wanted to embed any website, I could do that. That's sort of our workaround for some of these embeds. Essentially, if you did have a whiteboard in this, I could take that and I could basically take it and save it as a link here. So I can just copy it. If I go into my settings, sharing and permissions, and then I can copy this link right here, and then I'll be able to take that. I can go back to my document, and then I can go and embed it that way. So just use your / commands when you're in ClickUp. So just like this, embed any website, and I can take that Command V, and then I can put that whiteboard directly inside of ClickUp, just like that.
So thank you. Yeah. Okay. Always good to get that out of the way. All right, let's continue with the VTO then. Cool. And by all means, dear watchers, leave us questions along the way. But for now, let's start with the VTO. Yeah,
good question. Yeah, so inside of this VTO, essentially what we're going to have is a couple different lists. So we have 3 different lists here. We have our long-term issues, we have our rocks, as well as our accountability chart. And then I have a doc here, which is essentially my vision traction organizer. So this is nothing special here, but this is really my place to store all the information that we would have inside of our vision traction organizer. So if you've gone through a EOS implementation, you should have this all built out. Essentially, you're going to document your core values, your core focus, and your target marketing strategy, 3-year picture, so on and so forth. And it's super important, again, to have this front and center for everyone to be able to find and see and kind of walk through it. So that way you have sort of that billboard that I was talking about earlier, where sort of your vision, your goal as a company is all sort of there for everyone to see and be able to, as they're working on their tasks, they're going to be able to find this pretty easily. So inside of this, you can either link to specific documents or you can build it and embed it all into here. So again, I can link out to this if I wanted to, or I can embed basically anything inside of ClickUp, which is super helpful. So it's whatever you want to do it. You can do both as well. As you can see here, maybe this isn't the prettiest sort of looking document here. I just kind of took a VTO, but if you had this in a PDF, you might be able to embed it a little bit nicer. But in this, again, I can link out to anything. I can embed it directly in ClickUp to make it super easy for us to have everything in one place. In addition, if I continue to go down, I'm going to have my accountability chart, which is what we went over. Again, this is embedding a ClickUp whiteboard into ClickUp. So it's kind of, embedding ClickUp into ClickUp is always funny, but that's something you can do as well. But with this, you either can build your accountability chart directly in a ClickUp whiteboard. I will be honest, at ZenPilot, we do have this built inside of Miro instead of a ClickUp whiteboard. But if you feel like this is easier and you don't want to have a Miro subscription, or you could do it on a Miro free plan, but you're able to either just build this directly inside of a ClickUp whiteboard, or you can go here and I can embed wherever this is built. So if it's Lucidchart, if it's Miro, whatever tool it is, I can go embed that accountability chart directly inside of ClickUp that way. So we'd like to have a list that's separate for this, just so that the accountability chart lives somewhere and it's very easy to find, but I'll be able to go there to that list there and find it, or it's all going to be built into my vision traction organizer that you see right here. In addition, we have things like our company scorecard that's in here. So this might be like your leadership scorecard. We build our scorecards into Google Sheets. Probably a lot of you out there that have done this. Otherwise, I know 90 has a great way to build your scorecards as well. But Google Sheets has worked fine for us. Essentially, we utilize some conditional formatting and things like this in here. You're going to have all of your metrics there. And then weekly, you'll be able to kind of put those targets in. And for us, what we do, I put that target in here. And essentially what it does is this is either red or green based off of if we reach that target or if we're underneath that target. So it's a great way, again, to hold us all accountable. But if you build this into a spreadsheet or wherever, you can then embed it back into ClickUp. There's not a way to build this really unless someone else has done it out there. I don't think ClickUp is the right tool to build your scorecard directly inside of the system. But having a spreadsheet like this is a great way to have it and then embed it back into the tool. So that's our scorecard. Yeah, go for it.
If I just one thought, I feel like that's the key thing, is that anything that ClickUp is not a great fit to build in, the embed functionality is extremely powerful. And you're showcasing it here where, okay, if it makes more sense to track the scorecards in an Excel or Google Sheets in this case, you can embed it and it's clearly visible with a convenient link to get to to the full file if you need that. But if you want stuff at a glance, there it is, and you never have to click away from ClickUp. That is extremely, extremely convenient. I don't have a follow-up question, just wanted to add that in. By all means, continue.
Yeah, there's basically in this too now, then I just kind of have everything listed out with my core values, my core focus, 10-year target, 3-year picture, marketing strategy, and 1-year plan. So again, this is really just simply a document, nothing super special here. But again, it's just a way to centralize all of that information so you have it in one place. As we always say, clarity is kindness, and clarity is really going to come from centralization. And I don't have to learn another software tool. I don't have to kind of have a bunch of tabs open up here to go jump from one to the other to the other. It's all in one spot. And in addition with this, I'd highly recommend everyone at your company, either what you could do is you can take this and I can copy this link and I can embed it here at the everything level if I wanted to. So I can easily go to here and I can add a view and I can embed that. So again, you're kind of embedding ClickUp into ClickUp. That's just gonna, if I don't want it kind of down here and I want to bring it up so that it's easier for everyone to find, I can have them embed it here at the everything level. That way it's right there, but it's fine to leave it down here as well. The other thing that you can do is I would tell everyone, if I come back here to the VTO, the other thing that you can do is just have everyone come and favorite this view as well. So as you see up here, I have a couple things favorited. So if I go and I favorite this, again, that way, it's just going to start to make it easier for me to find this. So wherever I am sort of in my ClickUp workspace, I can go back and find that vision traction organizer. Again, that's just kind of a great way to centralize it, get it in front of everyone, have that sort of billboard of your vision. So that way everyone's sort of on the same page and all aligned on what that vision actually is. So just a kind of a great way to get that front and center for everyone. Either embed it to your everything level here, or I can put it directly up here by favoriting that view. And that's something that everyone's going to have to do on their own, because this is personal favorites that I have here, but just letting you know that's a great way to centralize it. And one thing I always tell people is you can unpin these favorites as well. So if I do that, which right now it's not working for me, but that would basically put the favorites back down here, and I would just have to repin them back up to the top. So just know, if you're not seeing this bar up here with your favorites, it's probably somewhere down here. Just make sure you go and pin that back up. But that's really your vision traction organizer. Again, very simple. That's going to have your accountability chart and everything sort of inside of this document. But in addition to that, inside of this VTO folder, this is where it starts to get a little bit more fun and really powerful inside of ClickUp. And let me know if there's any questions before I dive into the next thing, Kuba, because this will take some time to go through rocks and issues. But if not, I can continue moving forward.
There isn't anything. I'm seeing one comment from Andy Kuzneski. I just replied to that direct on LinkedIn. Okay, might as well pull it up because now people are curious. We've struggled to do rolling calcs for different timeframes in Excel or Google Sheets. Perhaps we need to upgrade our Excel skills. Now, I don't exactly know how we're handling this internally, but this gives me an idea. Maybe one of these days we're going to do a live stream and it's not going to be on ClickUp, but maybe on calculations in Google Sheets. Thanks for the idea.
I would say we have our Gray McKenzie internally. If you could clone him 100 times, then you probably have really good Excel skills. But he is definitely the master with all this. I think he set those scorecards up. Gray, if I'm wrong, please let me know. But Gray is definitely an Excel or Google Sheets wizard that has set all that up, and it's worked flawlessly. So definitely get in contact with him because he knows his stuff.
Okay, yeah, there you go. But yeah, no other questions that I can see. Cool. Definitely keep them rolling in, dear watchers. And for now, let's dive into rocks. I like that part.
Cool. So with rocks, let's click on this. Let me refresh my screen. With rocks is where it starts to get very, very powerful. And I just kind of love how this is laid out inside of ClickUp. So as you can see here, I have my rock list. So as a business with EOS, you're essentially going to have all of your company rocks. You want to have them in one place. And then for when you're running through these rocks in your level 10 meetings, I want to make sure those rocks are sort of in certain departments, which again, I'll show that in a second. But this is a great way in ClickUp because you can utilize the tasks in multiple lists, ClickUp. So you want to make sure that's turned on inside of your ClickUp workspace because that's going to allow you to have these rocks living in sort of the all rocks list as well as specific. If I come down here, they'll be in specific level 10 meeting lists as well. But how we have them here is everyone has their certain rocks. And for those don't know, these are sort of your 90-day initiatives or the things you are most important to do in the next 90 days per person, as well as the company too. So this is going to help you reach your sort of 3-year picture, 10-year picture there too. But as you can see here, for me, I have 110 plus FTAs, new website launch. Gray has 35% close rate, partner program outlined and launched. So we all have our rocks listed out here. We have our due dates for when this rock needs to be complete. And then we have a couple custom fields that I'll go over that are going to help sort of just us keep track of these rocks. So for one, that's going to be rock status. I can label this off track or on track, which I need to make sure I do every single week before a level 10 meeting so we can run through that. We're going to have the rock type, whether that's a personal rock or a company rock. We'll have our quarter, so that way we know, and this is kind of a drop-down custom field that you're going to add values to it as time goes on. That way, this is going to help with historical information because every single quarter after the rock is either closed or not closed, we'll close it out and we'll label if it was off track or on track if we actually completed it, and then I'll have the quarter. So you can go back, you can look at all of the closed rocks that you've had over time, and you'll be able to see sort of what quarter they lived in because you'll have this drop-down custom field applied to it always. So that's a great way to, again, have your active rocks as well as all the closed ones. It's all going to be there for historical information to see what did we complete, what did we not complete, things like that. In addition, you're going to have a department level rock type here. So I can say it's growth, delivery, operations. Again, you're going to want to label those with the departments that you have and sort of the level 10 meetings that you have there too. And this is great because I can, if I want to, set this up as an automation. So either I can do this manually or via automation. What I'm able to do via automation is if this department is labeled delivery, essentially what I can do is that'll automatically be added to the delivery rocks list down here. So that way it's going to live in 2 places. Oh, yeah. The home list is going to be in this all rocks list, but it's also going to then move as well and live in 2 different places inside of this team rocks here, as well as the all rocks list. So I can set that up as an automation. Otherwise, I can easily just go, and as you can see here, this is the tasks in multiple lists. I can go, and as you'll see, this is living in the all rocks list as well as the team rocks list, which is this down here. This would be labeled delivery instead of just team. But that way I can have it living in multiple lists, and you'll see that down here when we jump into the level 10 meetings. But that way I can easily make these live in multiple lists. I'll show you how to do that here. So for Alex, let's say that this needs to be in that L10. Again, this can either be automated or I can do this manually, however you want to do it. I'm using this custom field. But let's just say that this is the growth department. I can go and add that to this rocks list as well. And then it's going to live down here too. So if I jump down here, you'll be able to see, again, Alex has just got moved there. And we're going to see it in here. If I didn't want that to live in here anymore, I could just get rid of it. And you'll see now it's going to live in the all rocks list, but not in that team rocks list. So that's how we use rocks inside of ClickUp. The other important piece is we utilize a smart rock planner, which is just kind of a great way to just describe your rock, make sure we know, is this a good rock, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, as well as what are the steps that you're doing to complete this rock, because you need those milestones when you're marking something either on track or off track. If I don't have those milestones, then maybe I just leave it on track the whole 90 days, and there's just not much accountability there. So you can label and go through. We utilize this. I mean, you can build it in ClickUp, but we actually use a Google Doc to describe these and make sure that our rocks are going through the Smart Rock Planner. And then we take all of those sort of milestones or the activity required for achieving this rock, and then we turn those into subtasks underneath the rock. So if I go to my rocks list, I'm just like that. I can essentially create for 110 FTAs or the new website launch. I can create subtasks underneath these as certain things I need to hit. So all those are going to have due dates of like, what are the certain milestones I need to hit within this new website launch, which is going to help me label this on track or off track. So it keeps us accountable and sort of lets us know, like, is this actually on track? Are we reaching those milestones we need to hit within those 90 days? So it's going to take these sort of bigger 90-day initiatives, break them down even further so that we know, are we hitting those milestones as we go on? So that's how rocks are laid out in ClickUp. If anyone has questions on that, please feel free to let us know, and I'll stop here and take some time for that.
Yeah, I was going to mention the subtasks, the milestones that you were just talking about. I mean, this is, in my day-to-day work, this is what I day-to-day, week-to-week, during the L10 meeting, this is what I check my rocks against. The milestones reflect kind of the timeline of events that I had planned for the quarter for a certain rock. Am I hitting that timeline? Am I finishing milestones kind of ahead of the timeline, or am I behind? And this primarily for me determines whether I'm marking something as on track or off track. Not gut feeling, but I predicted, planned for things to go a certain way. Is it literally on track on that timeline? And I just had one extra thing that I was curious about here, Jeff. Not 100% related to EOS, but I've been reading the rocks in the meantime that we've got here. And there's one that I'm curious about, for people who don't know the Zenpilot context, this is an interesting one. Could you explain Alex's 5+ teams at gold level rock? I mean, surely somebody watching this is like, what the heck is gold level? So could you just briefly explain?
Yeah, it's a good question. And so essentially all the teams that we've worked with sort of after they fully implemented ClickUp, to really see if this is paying off and to see how the team is performing inside of the system. We have sort of bronze, silver, and gold level, which again, these are all the sort of the agencies that we're working with. We put them on that scale to kind of see, are we performing better than we were last week? And we kind of do it on a weekly to monthly basis. But gold levels, essentially, we take our velocity ratios, our completed ratios, and compliance ratio. And that's basically giving you a company score. And that's, in summary, looking at, hey, these are our planned tasks. Did we actually close those planned tasks? Or are we closing tasks that weren't planned for this week? So that's looking at the due dates and things like that. So it's just essentially looking at, hey, did we plan and execute well as a team? So that's sort of what gold level is. So for Alex, he needs to make sure that the teams that we're working with sort of in our optimized engagement are reaching that gold level status instead of the silver or bronze, because we want teams to really get good at planning and execution, because that's going to help with forecasting. That's going to help with visualizing workload and just being able to see sort of, is our team doing well inside of the system? Because if you don't really manage or don't look at that data, then we really have no idea. It can get a lot of tasks in the system and things can get lost. So that's kind of what Alex's rock is right there.
Yeah.
Good question.
So it's almost kind of, thanks. It's almost kind of like a client success metric. So anyway, if any of you want to find out whether your project management and operations is at a bronze, silver, or gold level, the best way to do that is to go to zenpilot.com/call and start your Zenpilot journey. We'll walk you through everything and get you to that gold level. Anyway, I'm not seeing neither on StreamYard nor I'm checking the other platforms any additional questions about that. I think people are engrossed in the live demo for now. So let's keep things moving. What's next after the rocks then?
Yeah, and the rocks, the only thing else that I'll add is either, as we talked about, the subtasks as milestones, or you have the opportunity to link tasks to this. So if I wanted to kind of go into my delivery, growth, or operation spaces, and I had a bunch of tasks in there that were relevant to my website launch here, then essentially what I could do is grab all those and link them, and then they'll all be here, and I can sort of see the statuses of those as well. So either you can add tasks this way by searching for them, or you can just bulk select a bunch of tasks in your other spaces and link them directly to this. I prefer the subtasks. I think it's easier to sort of navigate that and see the progress, but you can do either way. In addition, the only other things on this would be the beauty of ClickUp is obviously the views. So now I can kind of use those custom fields to be able to see sort of rocks by assignee, rocks by rock type, company rocks by quarter, my rocks, closed rock by status. So there's a bunch of different views you can create just to kind of see these in a bunch of different ways, especially if you have a ton of different rocks in there. Right now, I don't have a ton in this demo, but if I did have a lot, that would be easy to kind of use those custom fields to sort of see rock status, rock types, things like that. But now
actually,
yeah,
I am so sorry, Jeff. Just wanted to stop you there. We got 2 very cool questions coming in that I wanted to dig into. Thank you so much, Mila and Steven, for contributing them. Let's get into it. So I wonder what you're going to say here. Mila is asking, are you using relationships to link specific tasks with subtasks to each rock? Otherwise, how do you tie back tasks to rocks to evaluate the progress of each rock?
Using relationships. So that might have been what I just went over, but we are using subtasks internally to track those rocks. So that way they're all just right there. So that way I kind of know, did we reach that milestone or not? So that's what we do internally. That's what I would recommend, is having those subtasks be underneath the parent task, which is the rock. That way it's easy to track it. I don't know. Hopefully that helps answer the question, but that's what I would recommend. And that's what we do internally.
The way I'm reading this is that if you have a task that's in a different list, let's say kind of in the marketing folder under growth, do we use do we link that task to some of the rocks under the marketing rocks or growth rocks? I don't think day to day we necessarily do that. Certainly it is a thing that can be done, but we find more upside in just the weekly cadence of this happens more through issues for us, is what I would say. If there's a rock, the rock then kind of results in an issue being created, then that issue lands with the rest of our tasks in our my tasks on the everything level view. So that's kind of how I see it. It certainly can be done, but I don't think we found significant upside to it. Would that be accurate to say?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what all you need. I guess this might be asking more like, do we relate a lot of stuff to the subtasks within this? And it depends on all the clarity and data you need. I think when you're on a weekly cadence, as long as you have those milestones in there, if you want to relate every single task, that might just take a little bit more time on the management side. But again, it depends on like, if you want all those related, then you can, and use those relationships, because that's going to tie it all into one place. But again, that might just be a lot of work that might not help you as much. So we just kind of use the milestones as subtasks, and that does enough for us as a business.
Yeah. And just as an example, I've got a rock that's related to publishing blog posts, for example, and I've got a goal to publish, let's say, 10 blog posts in the quarter. I don't relate the rock nor the subtasks to tasks in the system, kind of using the relationship function, but I do use the rock parent task as a place where I report on progress, leave links to the blogs, leave comments like I'm at 6, I should be at 8, or whatever the case may be. So that's how we approach that. And then the questions are now rolling in. Steven's got curious with the addition of task types, and I know you have a video about this, Jeff, on our YouTube. If things like rocks, issues, etc., make sense to have their own task type. What do you think?
Yeah, in the future, we haven't actually fully leveraged task types quite yet. It's a promising feature inside of ClickUp, and that's kind of where you can kind of use the actionable versus non-actionable and be able to in like records as well. We have a video on that on task types, but right now we just leverage a drop-down custom field because it kind of helps with automations, and it helps with creating dashboards. So the task type feature that ClickUp has right now, I wouldn't recommend fully rolling it out quite yet. It just kind of doesn't work as well with some API type functionalities in there. So that's the only downside to it right now. But yeah, in the future, we'll leverage that a little bit more. But right now, I wouldn't recommend fully using it for your team until they kind of get those additional features tied to the task types.
Yeah, and that's an important point, I think. Task types, it's nice how they're implemented right now in the UI. They're really unique. They stand out.
Yeah.
But under the hood, when you're going into deeper stuff like we do and we do every day, when you look at, automations, for example, there's some limitations there still that make it like not a strong recommend from us just yet. But like you said, Jeff, that might change down the line.
And
Next up,
I'll just
sorry.
add one thing, and we keep it simple. Like a lot of people I've seen have built task types into their system already, and they have 30 different task types because, yeah, you might have rocks, you might have issues, and you want to label all those as a rock or as an issue inside of that task type. But we've seen it better to just kind of have non-actionable, actionable meeting tasks, out of office tasks, or sort of time tracking tasks, and then records. That way, it's just simpler. I think a lot of teams try to get too complex too fast, and then just becomes
Yeah.
information overload, and it's a bit too much for the team. So you're going to try to label things in a bunch of different ways. I would kind of try to keep it as simple as possible with like non-actionable, actionable meetings, out of office, and records and things like that. That's just going to keep it simpler for your team.
Okay, gotcha. So that answers that question, Stephen. Thank you so much for contributing that. Now, Aga is asking, do you recommend to use ClickUp goals next to rocks? Love that question. What would we say?
Yeah, we actually don't use ClickUp goals quite yet. We've tested it out, and it just hasn't done enough for us to really fully leverage that. I'm sure there's other people that have used ClickUp goals a lot, but that's not a feature that we've really leveraged in ClickUp. I think this does a great job like this, and it just makes things more actionable. I haven't seen goals as a huge help to us internally and for our clients.
Yeah, and that's the short answer to that one. Final one before we can proceed, unless there's more questions. We love questions. Give them to us. Brian's asking, do we do quarterly conversations in ClickUp?
Yeah, good question. So we actually utilize a tool called 15.5, and that's where we run our quarterly conversations. We actually just had them, and it works well for us. If you wanted to run them in there, you could do in the operation space, and then you have a people, and then within this people folder, you have a list for each employee. So what that does is within the list, you essentially could have those quarterly conversation documents in that list, and that's where you could run reviews and meetings with your manager in that list. And that way you can use the permission settings to tie that down to just the employee as well as their direct manager or whoever else needs to see that. So that's what you could do if you wanted to. Again, you have a people folder here with a list per each person. So the list would just be for me, it would be Jeff Cypher. I have that locked down so that only I can see it as well as my manager. And I can have docs on that list that just kind of has all of my review cycles and things like that. So if you wanted to do that, you could, but we just use a tool 15.5 and that's worked well for us.
Yeah. So what I like about 15.5 is, for example, the cadence of like email reminders that it brings in. We've got Slack automation where the high fives from 15.5 show up on a high fives channel. So there's upside to that. Sometimes an external tool does make sense, but everybody's tech stack obviously is going to be different. I wanted to actually add on locking down tasks that I noticed that in some places we have certain rocks that are locked down as well. I just wanted to mention that this is something that you can do. If you have a rock for somebody that does not need to be public to the whole company, I don't know, a secret quarterly mission for them, then you can do that too. They then do not show up to the people that you don't want it to show up to. Phew, got through that sentence. Okay. That's it for the questions for now. So what's next on the agenda for the demo?
Yeah, so that's rocks. And now we have the issues, which I'm going to focus most of this issues on this level 10 meetings because I know we're running short on time and I want to jump into this. But the long-term issues, essentially, you could put them all in here. That way they're stored in one place. But I think the power in ClickUp is going to be your sort of IDS in the level 10 meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump down into level 10 meetings because we're going to talk about issues there as well. Yeah, so when we jump into our level 10 meetings, this is what I love about ClickUp is going to be the ability for me to have these docs here. Let me refresh my screen again. Sometimes on StreamYard, it gets to be a little bit slow. If I come down here, level 10 meetings, meeting notes, I am now able to store, and let's say that this is the delivery L10 meeting. So again, my framework is going to have this folder with my lists here, as well as the documents that I'm actually going to use to run my level 10 meetings. So what I can do is what I find easiest. Again, this is where you can choose to either build out your agenda just like this, and I can take this and I can save it as a template if I want to, because then I can deploy it over and over again for every single level 10 meeting that we have weekly, or I could just leave this document right here and I can duplicate it, and then I'm able to sort of move it here. This is where we're holding all of our delivery team meetings. So the cool part about ClickUp too is then, just as you could create sort of a hierarchy structure over here with my spaces, my folders, and my lists, I can do the same thing with my documents here. So you kind of have a parent doc, subdoc, like it just keeps going. Like there's so many different levels you can do here, but I find it super powerful to be able to organize all of these just like this. So now as our team runs, we have a ton of different meetings. I don't have a ton of different documents, which makes it hard to kind of navigate to each one. I can break it up into quarters. So I have my Q4 and my Q3 level 10 meetings are all sort of right there. So when I duplicate this template, I move into the right spot, and then I'll just put the date on there. So let's just say that this one is 10, 26, 23, like that. And then it makes it easy for me to be able to find all of these. So people can either just go directly here, or they can search for them as well. But in this agenda is, especially for remote teams, everyone can go to this. And as our meeting runs, they can look at the document. You'll have someone taking notes on the document and keeping track of time. But as remote teams, it's super powerful, because then if I'm running the meeting, I can just share my screen and I can just have this one screen showing, and I can just run through it. We can run through the segue. We can run through our customer highlights. We'll run through our scorecard. Again, that's embedded directly in here, as I showed earlier. We have our onboarding and offboarding highlights. And the fun part about this is, if you have a CRM in ClickUp, that's going to be super easy to find, because I can go to my deals list here and easily copy over my onboarding, my upcoming, and my offboarding. We'll kind of show that in a second, but also have my rock review directly here. And I can kind of just go through, run through these. When you get your rock review, Andrew will just go through his, say whether it's on track or off track. And we'll be able to bring down the subtasks in this as well, to be able to see sort of where the issue is. And if there is an issue, then we can add it to our IDS list as well, which this is going to be the most fun and probably the most powerful thing in ClickUp, is running through your IDS. And as I mentioned with this, as you go through this and add in to-dos and things come from this meeting, if you take notes directly in this document, I can highlight text, and I can go and I can create tasks just like this. So I'll be able to find my list. I can go create the task like that. I can assign it out. I can add in any custom fields that I would need, add a due date, add a time estimate. So it's going to be super powerful that way, and it makes your meetings way more actionable, because there's plenty of times you go into a meeting, if you don't have anything like this, then you're like, oh, I'll do that. And the task isn't created, and then it just never gets done. But with this, it keeps everyone accountable, because I create that task. And as you'll see right here, it's showing me, and it links directly to this task, and it's showing this as open. But when I actually close this, I can go back to my document, as you'll see it's closed there. So that just kind of shows us we have a good way of visualizing all of that information right here to kind of know, hey, what to-dos did we actually complete? Obviously, insert your to-do list here is not a great task name, but you get the point. In addition, you'll have your level 10 to-dos embedded in this as well. So all those tasks are going to live here, and I can see them and see sort of what we completed, what's overdue, and things like that. In addition, just your cascading messages, meeting rating, and feedback. But I want to jump into the IDS for this, because I think this is super, super powerful inside of ClickUp. So what we do is, obviously everyone is going to have tasks, which they all live here, for them to actually add issues to the IDS list. So I'm going to have my update rocks, my update the scorecard, and add issues to prepare for this L10 meeting. So you want to make all your tasks there, and you can easily link out to these things. That way people can easily find it. I'm just going to see this task on my task view up at the everything level, and then I can go and add in my rocks, or just say if they're on track or off track, add in my issues, and then update the scorecard. But IDS is great inside of ClickUp, because I can easily go, and these become tasks inside of this list. So as a department, I'll just come in here and I'll add the issue. Let's just say this one's issue number 8, like that. And I'll say the issue submitter, this one's me. We like to label these issue type, whether this is decision that's needed, info to share, info needed. We can do it just like that. And you'll see when the date was created. Just kind of give us a little bit more visibility into that, if this is an older issue or not. But you can come in here and you can utilize this ClickUp priority field as well. So let's say we come in, and to start this IDS period, we'll have about 40 minutes here. We want to know what we should prioritize. So I can come through and say, hey, this one is urgent, this one's urgent, and this one's urgent. So we'll start with 3, and then I'm able to jump into each of these. Let's say issue number 8 is our top one, and you'll instruct everyone that's adding these issues to have a description of sort of what this is. Maybe it's a Loom video, maybe it's a screenshot of something, or maybe it's just a written description so that we have some context going into this. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up this task when we're going through this issue. We're going to talk about it. We're only going to focus on this. We're going to spend some time to solve this, whatever it takes. And we can write comments. We can leave some notes on this. So as we're going through this, we get all the context for how to solve this issue directly in here. And then when we solve it, we can close this task. And when you're solving it, sometimes this issue either becomes a task that I can go and I can move to a space, or like if it's a delivery related item, I can move it to delivery space. If it's growth, operations, I can go and move this, or I can just close this out and just kind of take this task URL and add that URL into the new task. That way I can go and sort of see all the context for maybe the to-do that came from this issue. So it just makes it super easy to relate everything together. But once we solve this issue, I can just go mark it complete. Again, if you want to sort of save the notes that are on there, you can copy this URL. And if there's a to-do that comes from this, which you'll have your documenter kind of going through and creating those to-dos, I can just go and let's say that this is the task for it. I can just go and add this like that. That way I can pull up the context pretty easily, even if it is closed there. So that makes it super helpful. The other fun part of this, and this is great for your delivery teams, is if you have a CRM built inside of ClickUp, and this is a big reason why we do this, because it's great visibility for your team, great way to have your account managers get everything into one place for sort of the head of client services or whoever. If I come to my deals list right here, I'm working for Vance Refrigeration on a website project. I leave sort of my weekly update here of why would the customer be unhappy? Are you happy with this account? Have there been any changes, strategy, or timeline? And what do you need help with? On here, I have, we need another designer to get a few images ready to go for the website. And let's say that this has not been going well. So I have my health score here. Right now it's green the previous week, but now it's yellow, and they're not happy with us. Bob Vance is like, oh, this website's taking too long. We need to finish this up. Come on, guys. What are you doing? So I go and I label this as yellow, just like that. What that's going to do now via a ClickUp automation in this list is this is now going to go add that to the issues list right here. So without me having to do anything, I mark that as yellow. It automatically gets added to this. And so that makes sure that we go and we talk about this. And again, if I click open that task, I'm going to have the context all right here. And that way, again, it's not like, oh, shoot, we forgot to talk about Vance Refrigeration. We need to get back to that. It's just right there. Very easy. It doesn't take any work from your team. Just when they label it, nothing's going to slip through the cracks right there. And the difference between this is sorry, go for it.
Just wanted to say that just scratches the surface of what is possible with automations. And just one quick note, if anybody looking at this was looking at this CRM section of our setup and thinking, hey, that's neat to be able to track all of these fields, by client, by deal, track the health and leave comments and stay aligned. If you want that for your setup, go to zenpilot.com, check out our resources section. Under there, you'll find the magic words are agency client health tracker. That's what we call it. And we've got a bunch of content on our YouTube about it as well if you want to walk through. But I just wanted to drop that in, that is available from the Zenpilot site as well.
Yeah. Good ad. But yeah, the last thing for this issues list is essentially, okay, if we solve this, we're not going to go and close this task. As you can see, it's just, again, the same feature that I had with those rocks. It's just adding a task to multiple lists. So what I can do here is you'll see it lives in the deals list as well as the team issues. I can go, we've solved that. And if I need to create a to-do from that, I can. But as you'll see now, it doesn't live in there anymore because we solved that. We're good to go. So that way you just keep all of your issues in one place. You get those if there's a low client health score to put out any issues before they become huge client fires. And that way we never forget to talk about that stuff. But again, it's just going to be great for historical information as well, because I can go, as I close these issues, I'll be able to show all of the closed ones. Right now, I'm not showing them. But if I wanted to show the closed issues, I could do that. And that way I kind of see all of them in the list. They have all the context in there. And then if there's any tasks that come from that, they'll all be put into the level 10 meeting and to-dos. And those can also live in other lists as well if I sort of need them in here to have that source of truth, or if they're related to delivery or growth or operations. Again, I could use that task to multiple lists feature to move those into separate places as well. Yeah. But this is just going to be a way, again, keep everything in one place, hold your team accountable. And we just love it internally for IDS especially. It makes it super easy for people to add those issues. and then have them in one list and solve them, go through and prioritize them, just have a great place to talk about them and take notes, and then assign to-dos after they're closed out and solved.
Yeah.
But really, that's probably the most of the EOS framework here that we have built in ClickUp. Again, most of it's built around these agenda docs, keeping everything in one spot, getting your rocks in here, having those subtasks as milestones, and then using custom fields and some automations to just make it a little easier, and also hold everyone accountable through all of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance and granularity to it when you dive into it. But yes, it is a lot of it lives in ClickUp Docs. A lot of it uses embeds, as Jeff just mentioned. And I just wanted to point out, kind of in terms of granularity, like we do get so granular in ClickUp, and that's the kind of the key to success that we found, is that you do have a separate task, estimated for 10 minutes if need be, but a separate subtask or task for preparing for the L10 meeting, or any housekeeping you might need to do after the L10 meeting, because the ZenPilot standard is you log into ClickUp at the beginning of the day and you see everything you need to do on that day. The time estimates should be right, so you're not over encumbered and over whatever amount of hours daily you've got allotted to work. And that's the key, and you have to be that granular and that specific to get there. I'm looking for, if we have any final questions here, we would be able to take maybe one last question. If not, probably at this point we'll take those off the call, so definitely leave those with us. I wanted to add, because I think for the live demo, I think we'll pull that off for now, unless somebody wants to see something else. So that kind of takes us through our EOS setup here. There's a lot of ways to do this, of course. This is just one way to implement this in ClickUp. There's a lot of room for customization. For example, if somebody's using goals in ClickUp, maybe there's a way to work that into to a larger extent, although we don't necessarily recommend goals. But there's, like I mentioned, a lot of nuance. So, if you're curious about this setup and you'd like to see the template, maybe have that template added to your workspace or customized for your needs, we can help with that. Go to zenpilot.com/call, or just zenpilot.com. You'll find the book a call button. We put it everywhere. Have a quick call with us and we can tell you what's possible in terms of EOS plus ClickUp. Just one more mention, we are not officially affiliated with EOS. This is just a system we've built to be able to track those things in ClickUp. And I wanted to ask Jeff if you've got anything more to add here in terms of, good tips or anything you wanted to reemphasize. Otherwise, I have a couple of questions for our watchers about kind of the future of the show, if I may, future episodes. And I wanted to drop that in before we go offline.
No, I would just add, as much as you can, just get everything in one place for your team. I think it's going to help them so much. I've been to, businesses where things are all over the place. If you have a bunch of stuff in Google Docs, it's fine. But if it's not embedded back into ClickUp, then that's just a case for things getting lost. So whatever it may be, just try to, if it's not built into ClickUp and that's your project management system, just make sure it is somehow stemming from ClickUp in some way, whether that's linking from some sort of document, linking directly from tasks embedded in ClickUp. Try to have a central source of truth for your team. Make it super easy. Otherwise, you're going to get the classic questions of, hey, where do I find this? Where does this live? And if people have to ask those, then it's just going to be time wasted. And as agency owners or business owners, then you can never step away from your business because people are asking you questions and you're kind of have Slack on your phone. You're like, I got to get back. They need to know where this is. So just try to create that central source of truth for your team. That's going to help go a long way and help you take a vacation if you're the one that's running the business and started the business.
Yeah, that's like a classic horror story, right? Staying with the theme of Spooktober. It's like you get the Slack message, you're in the middle of a vacation, and you realize I am the only person in the universe that knows where that lives in our system. That's awful. And having a single source of truth, everything integrated, definitely helps combat that. So thanks for mentioning that. So, dear watchers and listeners, that's about as much as we wanted to cover here, but I've got some really important announcements for you and some really important questions for you. So first of all, I wanted to let you know this is hardly the first episode of the ZenPilot Live show that we ran. If you're curious about some of the other topics that we ran on previous episodes, we did one just last week, for example, on how to report profitability and utilization. We've built a special solution also on top of ClickUp with some additional tooling in there on how to be able to show utilization rates, profitability rates per service line, per client, per account manager on top of ClickUp. If you're curious about that, you can check out zenpilot.com, look up our ZP reports solution, and the live stream about that was last week with Andrew Dimsky. You'll find it on our LinkedIn under Zenpilot under events. You will also find on our YouTube under the kind of live tab. So just look there. And the questions I have for you, watchers and listeners, is that we've covered a lot in October, and we've certainly got plans for more live streams coming up. Maggie recently posted about when to use Slack versus when to use ClickUp for communication, and we want to run an event about that. I would love to run it in November. Let's see what Maggie's availability is like. So that's one that's kind of in the pipeline. But could you drop a comment, here, or send me a DM on LinkedIn at me, Jakub Grajcar. I'm on LinkedIn too much. Let me know about the topics you would like us to cover here, something that would be relevant for you. We're marketing at Zenpilot. We love to hear from our audience what you would like us to cover. And second, I wanted to announce that the Zenpilot live show is going to open up to guests. So if you're watching this and you're thinking you would like to share some of your expertise on the show, or share, a particular, your particular experience, or maybe an interesting ClickUp or teamwork.com solution, then reach out to me. Let's talk. I would love to have some additional people on the show. As you can see, I'm going into repeat guests now here with Jeff. I've hardly interviewed everybody at Zenpilot by this point. But certainly we want to expand because the show keeps getting bigger. Just for this one event on LinkedIn, almost 100 people signed up. So that was lovely to see. So those are kind of the events, the stuff that I wanted to announce. Just as a reminder, if you want to take a more comprehensive look at your agency project management, or you just want to talk about EOS and ClickUp, both of those you can resolve by booking a call with us, zenpilot.com/call. Let's talk. It's free of charge if you are wondering. And we can take a look at your setup and advise you on what the best steps for you are. Last thing, but not least, I run a newsletter called First Class Operations. Go to zenpilot.com, under resources, First Class Operations. I send it bi-weekly with the latest updates from Zenpilot, with our best content, with some content from outside of the Zenpilot network that we really appreciate and wanted to highlight. So definitely check that out, and I'll be sending that directly to your inbox. Look for an email from Captain Kuba, because that's what I call myself, because there's this whole aviation theme. I should have dressed as a pilot now that I think about it, with the hat and everything. Anyway,
next time.
Next Halloween. We'll do it on Halloween then. Anyway, that was it for the show today. Gianna's saying thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank everyone for joining us here today. Jeff, any last words before we go offline here today?
No, I guess if Kuba does, if I'm on the show again and Kuba's wearing a pilot costume, then I'll dress up as a flight attendant and I'll hand out some Biscoff cookies or some snacks for everyone. So stay tuned for that. Definitely come for it, because I will be a flight attendant next time. I don't know what that includes in my costume, but I'll find one.
Okay, awesome. I love that. Okay, that the stream was worth doing just for that declaration alone. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for the stream here today. Look forward to more. I post about them all the time on my profile, so you can check that out too, or follow Zenpilot. Follow Jeff. He posts so much ClickUp stuff. And that's enough CTAs for today. Hope to hear from you soon and see you on the next one. And I'll be hitting end stream now. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day /evening
See y'all.
/morning /everything. See ya. Thanks for this one. Bye.